Hello and welcome to Empowering Family Caregivers. I'm Susan Baida, the host and co-founder of eCareDiary.com. Today is February 25th, and the subject of our show is elder advocacy, and we're very pleased to have Jack Halpern of My Elder Advocate to join us today.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you for being here.
And let me tell you how much I appreciate what eCare Diary does.
Thank you.
And fine work, and really letting people know what's going on and what they can do and to protect themselves.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank you.
We appreciate what you do. And let's get to that because I want to tell our audience about all the wonderful things you do.
Okay.
Jack Halpern is the founder and CEO of My Elder Advocate that assists elders and their families, through safe, compassionate, and dignified elder services. And Jack is extremely qualified to do this because he has 35 years of experience in the nursing home industry, 25 of those years actually in nursing home administration, and many of those years as a nursing home administrator for homes the size of anywhere from 120 to 400 beds. So we're talking very large facilities here.
Yes.
And he's also founded a number of elder advocacy groups. In fact, that's how you and I first met, which is through the Orion Resource Group, Elder Care Advocacy Group, based right here in New York City, and the Senior Umbrella Network of New York.
Right.
So thank you for starting that and bringing us all together to discuss these issues.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Now, you have been fighting elder abuse and nursing home abuse for 37 years.
That's correct.
Thank you for doing that. But I think we need to understand, one of the things that I saw on your website, which is myelderadvocate.com, one of the first things I noticed on your site is warning nursing homes can be dangerous places. And my parents fortunately are not in that place yet, but I assume, I'm not sure what's going to happen to their future, but the idea that a nursing home can be a dangerous place, aside from a place that's not very desirable for many of us, was a scary concept. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Well, many people are not aware of what nursing homes are about until such time as a parent has to enter a nursing home. But nursing homes have progressively become poorer and poorer. Nursing homes are all about reimbursement. Our hospital system is about reimbursement. So, since most of the nursing homes that we have are for-profit institutions as opposed to not-for-profit institutions, there seems to be some kind of greed factor in that. And greed is not necessarily bad, but they are not taking care of the residents, okay? They are not treating them with dignity. They evict some residents. They imprison some other residents. Nursing homes are severely understaffed across the country. Most states have minimum staffing requirements. New York, for instance, does not have minimum staffing requirements. And you cannot run a nursing home without the proper staff. There's no way to do it. You can have a nice building, you can have nice furniture, but if you don't have the proper staff, you can't have a nice, you can't give good care, especially in the night shifts and the day shifts. Most caregivers in nursing homes, or most nurses' aides, are working 2 shifts, in some cases 3 shifts. And there just is a lot of medication errors, and there are a lot of things that a person has to know when an elderly loved one has to go to one of these places. And usually people don't go directly to a nursing home. They wind up in the hospital. They have a broken hip, or they have a stroke, and then they wind up in a nursing home. And by the time they get to the nursing home, and if the family hasn't done some planning or hasn't checked out the nursing homes, and they wind up in that nursing home, they can really, really be It's really dangerous for their health
Sure.
and welfare.
So, Jack, you run the #1 elder advocacy company in the country.
Yes, I do.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, it seems to me, based on your experience with nursing home administration, that you would be the perfect person to bring in when a family has an issue with a nursing home. And you and I were just talking before about, a friend of mine that had an issue with his mother, and she broke her shoulder. She has Alzheimer's. She couldn't communicate, and she was supposed to be on, 24/7 vigilance. And the home wasn't owning up to the injury. She actually had a fractured shoulder. Obviously doesn't happen just lying in bed. She obviously fell, but that wasn't reported. So you seem like the perfect person to call in a situation like that. And so how would you handle that?
Yeah, well, I am the perfect person to handle that, of course. Well, the first thing that people have to know is the first entry again into a nursing home is through the hospital. Very few cases where somebody goes directly to a nursing home. So the work really begins in the hospital. What I do is I go and see the family in the hospital, meet with the family, meet with the elder, and I will make sure, first of all, that they don't get bed sores. I will make sure that they use an air mattress, because an elder can develop a bed sore very quickly, but it takes an extremely long time for that bed sore to heal. I make sure that they don't immediately put them on Elavil or other psychotropic drugs, which hospitals sometimes like to do so that they can manage the elderly. They don't always like to feed the elderly and cut up their food for them if they can't do it themselves.
Right.
They are considered people in transition. An elder in a hospital today is considered somebody who is going to a nursing home. So we don't really don't really have to take that good care of them, because they're going to rehab. So they drop their responsibility. That is the point. And when they are ready to go to rehab, that is the point where it's most important to bring in an advocate or a professional.
Right.
Because if not, the discharge plan or the case mix manager in a hospital, whatever you call them, they are under pressure to release these people to nursing homes and to get that bed empty. So it's at that point where you get the advocate who comes into the hospital and says, look, they're going to a quality place where they're going to be treated well, and they're going to get good rehab, and if they have to stay long term, they're going to be in a place where they get treated with dignity, good care, good programs for them. You mentioned Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
The Alzheimer's, 80% of the nursing homes in this country do not have specialized Alzheimer's programs.
Right.
I asked an administrator once who I was talking about accepting somebody, or the hospital told me that they wanted to send to this place. So I called him up and I said to him, what is it that you offer your difficult Alzheimer's? What is the program? And he said to me, we just let them wander in the halls.
Right.
Okay, so this was quite serious. So again, there has to be specialized programs for Alzheimer's. And when a facility has that, people actually thrive, and they're in a good place.
Right.
But most places are not like that.
Wow. I'm a little bit in a state of shock by some of the things you're talking about, and I'm really hoping that the way you described hospitals and when you were talking about hospitals, I really hope that that's not the vast majority of hospitals. I mean,
well, it's again, it's not something where the hospital is going out of its way to put somebody into a bad nursing home. But you have to understand that good nursing homes have high occupancy.
Yeah.
Their beds fill up quickly because they have good programs.
Great
and great reputation, and they could. Not everybody is going to get into the best nursing home.
Right.
So what happens to those people who can't get into the best nursing home? Obviously, the best nursing home wants the best resident.
Right.
They want a resident that's not going to be difficult, that's not going to be that screaming, yelling Alzheimer's person. All right, so obviously most of the other nursing homes have plenty of empty beds because they're bad places.
Okay.
So if you're not going to get into one of the good places,
it's a good sign for families to look out for.
it's a good sign for people to look at. If
Okay.
a place has a lot of beds, empty beds, they're not a great place.
Okay. All right, let's switch gears a second
Okay.
here. Let's talk about the biggest mistake that you think Americans make in planning elder care for their elderly loved ones.
Right. I think that the biggest mistake for families is that they actually don't do much planning. They really deal with crisis.
Yes.
They wait to the
Yes.
point where mom and dad, they're sitting in their home, they're playing mahjong, maybe they're knocking back a couple of Heinekens, and they have a stroke or they fall, and at that point they get into the hospital, and it's a whole quagmire for them. There's all kinds of Medicare, Medicaid, discharge planning, case mix management, all these things hit them. And since they haven't planned for it, everything has to be done rushed because the hospital is going to rush them. The hospital discharge planner is already ready to plan for them to go to a nursing home the first day almost that they're there.
Oh, my.
Okay?
Okay.
So if families do not plan, families have to have all the medical records. They have to know their parents' medications. They have to know their allergies. They have to know what they have as far as Medicare, Medicaid, long-term care insurance, whatever it is.
Yes.
They have to have a lot of their medical records in the house, so that when you come to the hospital, you're prepared. And then
Right.
they have to have a plan. They need an elder advocate or a geriatric care manager, somebody to come in and plan for them what's going to happen when that day comes.
Right.
If they plan for that day, it's going to go a lot easier, and they will be a lot safer.
Right. So you mentioned geriatric care manager. I want to state here that the roles, there are services out there to help families, and I think elder advocacy is what you do, elder services.
Right.
And there are geriatric care managers and patient advocates, which is similar to I think it's what you do.
Correct.
So all these different roles, but I think
Okay, well, elder advocates and patient advocates are pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty unique in the way I do my advocacy.
Right.
Geriatric care managers are great professionals. They're usually social workers or nurses, in some cases even geriatricians.
Right.
And what they are good for is doing that kind of planning that I spoke about, going to a home, finding out and assessing the needs of an elder, and then coming up with a care plan for them and trying to basically keep them out of a nursing home. But when it comes to advocacy and it comes into to going into a place and speaking to the administrator, making sure that somebody remains safe and gets the proper care, that's where I come in. I have the strength, the education, the experience to go in and talk to the administrator straight one-on-one and say, look, you must take care of my client. And generally, once I've been in the facility, those problems are solved and my clients are taken care of.
Okay, so thank you for that explanation. And we're getting close to the end of the show. I want to hear about one of the most rewarding experiences that you've had doing what you do.
The most rewarding experience actually happened recently. I had a woman in a Bronx nursing home who came into that facility and was declared incompetent. The facility actually helped the daughter abscond with all her funds, had one of the doctors in the facility declare her incompetent, and then had her sign a power of attorney and then filed for Medicaid. The woman was absolutely not a dementia patient. She knew time, place, president, Congress. She knew all the things, and I was able to get her, working with her niece, get her home, get her funds back, get her bank accounts back.
Phenomenal.
and that was a great thing. And she went home and she walked into her home, and if I had not intervened, or that niece would not have called me, then she would have spent the rest of her life in a very, very inferior facility.
Jack, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you
for
very
joining
much.
us today, and thank you to our audience for joining Empowering Family Caregivers. Until next time.
Thank you very much.